Yeah, I know. I'm over in South Africa, and I've actually met two people that actually watch your videos as well. So your videos are reaching even the darkest of African regions as well. So
How are things in
congratulations
South
with that.
Africa?
I actually, coincidentally, the other day I saw a spray paint on a wall while I was walking in Cape Town that was a Pepe meme, and I was like, yes,
Yes.
Among Us.
Seriously though, I mean, you hear a lot of bad things coming out of South Africa. Is there truth
Yeah.
to that? Or?
I think they're over-exaggerated by people using it to push their ideology. Yes, there is a problem with racially motivated farm murders that aren't being addressed. But the other day there was an article on Fox somewhere about it, and I was actually quite surprised. But yeah, no, it's not a genocide. Don't get carried away. But there's definitely the farm murders that are taking place are definitely, a lot of them are racially motivated. So that's the key issue that we're trying to get addressed, but not at the moment. We're not seeing any developments there. But anyway,
Well,
yeah,
the government not very responsive then.
they're not really responding to it at all, even though racial tensions are actually rising because of it.
That's really bullshit.
And like I've said in a previous stream here, that people don't realize the effect that social justice is having on developing countries like South Africa. I mean, it's resonating here. We're always just hearing about the effects in first world countries and in America and the UK and Europe. But people don't talk about the effect it's having in third world countries and developing countries, where it's also taking root now. And I think where it's resonating more, where even if it's defeated in the West, it might live on here for decades to come and cause irreparable damage.
Honestly, I do. I think that the potential to be really quite catastrophic is quite high in African nations. I mean, there are big like Pan-African Marxist movements, aren't there?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it worries me. I've got to say.
But again, the same patterns here are the same patterns we see in the United States. For example, like I've said in previous streams, the authority figures at universities that are indoctrinating some of these students. For example, last year, I think it made like the BBC News, South Africa had huge riots in terms of free education, fees must fall, originating from the roads must fall movement. And then you look at all these fall lists in, like, go to their profiles, and they all have these social justice warrior rhetoric. They all have these lists in their bios where they list all their intersectional labels and trophies or whatever. And you see it's the exact same people. No matter where you go, with all these protests and riots, you find the exact same archetype almost, if I can use a Jungian term.
Yeah, it seems to be in the minds, doesn't it?
But yeah, I had another question I wanted to ask, which on a more lighter note. How far down the rabbit hole do you go with all the talk of Trump as in playing four-dimensional chess when you look at his 100 days so far, his term?
Well, I mean, he's been victorious at everything he's done so far. So it's hard to believe that he's an idiot. No one's listening.
That healthcare plan.
Well,
If you look at how like 4chan is raving about it, then you start seeing like they see more into it than there really is. So my question would be like, how far do you think that goes? How much of it is
I was actually thinking about like the personal attacks. I mean, the healthcare thing is like a massive issue that no one's going to solve. So you know, it's unrealistic to expect him to do it. But like the Syria thing, the strike on Syria, everyone reacted really, really passionately towards it, but no one sat back and actually looked at the effect of it. Because, I mean, Trump came out of that smelling of roses. You know, he showed that he's not afraid to do something. You know, that put the Russians in their place. It also killed the rumor that he's being puppeteered by Russia. It got the media on his side. It stopped everyone from bitching and moaning. And now they had something. Oh my God! Should we do this? Suddenly he wasn't the focus. And it was everyone around him. And I mean, if it wasn't a deliberate tactical move, he blundered into a brilliant idea, because now loads of people from all sides of the political spectrum are just like, we're not invading Syria, we can't do this. And so he can go, well, there are loads of people who don't want me to do it, so I'm not going to do it. You know, if he's not deliberately doing this, then he's a lucky idiot. You know?
Well, is he a lucky idiot, or has he just simply embraced the ways that basically the mainstream wanted him to go?
Well, that's the thing. He's kind of, with that one move, he managed to do a lot, and nothing really bad happened when he did it. So it was just like, I mean, if it wasn't a calculated move, he's just lucky, really, really lucky. But
he just decimated the entire Russia rhetoric that has been floating around in the media for the past how many months. He just destroyed it, basically.
Yeah, and the media was suddenly on his side. Glenn Greenwald was freaking out because the media was suddenly sucking his dick, and it's just like, well, I mean, once again, Trump wins. You know?
He can't stop winning.
Yeah, he just can't.
You look at it. He is now also suddenly saying that, you know, NATO is no longer obsolete, and the Russians are suddenly the villains. So it's hard to see him not really taking a more Clinton-style position.
Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. But I think it might well be tactical. I mean, the thing is, the people he has to deal with are really powerful and really influential, and it doesn't surprise me that he's had to cut to them somewhat. But he's engineered it. Okay, I say he's engineered it, but the situation has arrived where now I really don't think it's feasible politically for them to go into Syria. I don't think the political capital is there to make that happen. So, and I think the strike helped with that. I think it generated a lot of ill will to the idea of going into Syria. So if he's not doing this on purpose, he's just fucking lucky. That's all I've got.
And Julian Assange?
I think this is one of those special interest things, isn't it? With again, there are loads and loads of people who hate Assange more than anything.
Well, now look, man, I've seen you be very straightforward with Trump, Nazi-free. In fact, I've been a Trump supporter until he put his hand on the Bible and said whatever, and then he just became another motherfucking shitty politician. Yeah. Look at his trend right now. He went from I listened to his rallies while I did my farming, Sargon, and you know, he was like, "Oh, Assange is a hero. Look at this WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks." And now they're gonna listen. If he don't do an executive thing and be like, "With the power of Trump, to my pardon thee, sir," you know, he sucks. Period.
Well, the thing is, I don't think Julian Assange has actually done anything wrong, has he?
He ain't done shit wrong. He's a fucking hero. Excuse me, sir.
I mean, like legally. Legally, if he didn't procure the information himself, then he's not committed a crime.
Sharing information. He didn't sign a non-disclosure form. It's people give him information. He's WikiLeaks. He did not wiki generate.
Oh yeah, well, dude, I'm totally.
The whole thing goes back to Bradley Manning
about it, brother, and it makes me so upset to see him wave that around when he was campaigning, and now if he doesn't come out, I already said it, man. You know, because I don't want to be a dick either. I like President Trump because I'm American and whatnot. I liked Obama. I like them all. During the office of presidency, I like the presidency. So I like the president. But that said, man, son of a bitch, man, and Julian Assange, I don't want to just horn in a bulldog, but this is a touchy subject like Syria with you, Sargon. Julian Assange is a hero.
He is a hero.
He should be released from the dungeon he's in. And I believe Kerry was here earlier saying there's a big conspiracy going around and he may already be dead and they're just Osama bin Laden in his ass with the stuff Doc showed me earlier that we had on my early show about how they can have a person just sitting there doing this, blah, 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 and they can generate my face with my voice saying what they're saying in real time. So they don't even know if he's alive.
I don't know anything about whether he's alive.
Yeah, I didn't mean to get real crazy, but Julian.
No, dude. You say it's crazy, right? People have got to start considering that these people actually have access to this sort of technology. Like, holographic technology these days is incredible. And I mean, I'm not saying that anything's happened, but the potential is there. And so, and now, after the Vault 7 leaks, we know exactly what the CIA is capable of doing. It's one of those things where it's like, we can't just say, no, that's ridiculous.
Well, even the Vault 7 leaks aren't the pinnacle of what the CIA can do. That's the unsettling thing.
They're the bottom level.
I mean, we don't even know the half of it. We don't even know how far this goes. And that's the thing. People are seeing the Vault 7 leaks as this is the pinnacle of the abilities of the CIA. And it's like, no, this is their table scraps.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I got pretty deep into that conspiracy theory that Julian Assange was actually dead once they released that. I think it was a, what was it? Like a not a dead drop, but it was like some sequence of numbers that meant that it was compromised.
Mm-hmm.
And
like a dead man switch.
Yeah, that's like what it was. And kind of WikiLeaks, I follow them on Twitter, and like the content kind of changed a little, and nobody had seen them, and people were like wanting him to wave out the window and whatever. And he did a couple interviews, but they were weird. Like the lapel on his suit was like glitching out, like it was using hologram technology. And I think maybe now I'm convinced he's alive still, but I kind of got like conspiracy theory-ish about that. Like,
what convinced you he's alive then, Day?
I don't know. The Vault 7 releases kind of made me think that. They were also saying that the CIA had control of WikiLeaks. That was like a part of it, that the CIA now had.
By the powers that be, though, on the Vault 7? Because, and look, I think he's probably alive, but I'll just go back to my original statement while we have some.
Can I just finish my thought real quick? Also, why I think he might be alive now is that they're trying to arrest him, and like
they're bringing charges.
And why would you put charges on a dead man? They're like not gonna be like, oh, we're going to arrest him, but we can't find him.
He was already dead, I would say.
I don't know.
And I don't know. I don't he was already dead, but I believe that myself that when they went and did the raid, I don't know. Osama, but he was on a dialysis machine. How you get a fucking dialysis machine in the caves? Now I'm getting so deep in the weeds, everybody will hate me. But
hey man, I think there's a lot of bullshit around Bin Laden thing as well. I mean, he was in a compound like a mile away from Pakistani army base for 4 years or something.
That sounds like
they didn't never see him, Sargon. They were like the kids that lived in the backyard that they got one to say that they did. It was a summon, and he was like, nah, I got coerced.
Yeah,
But
and then they
dude
dumped his
was
body at sea. And
they dumped his body in the ocean. They didn't show anyone the body or anything like that. And they says, oh, this is part of an Islamic ritual. We dumped it in
the traditional Islamic ritual of dumping people in the ocean. And yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they got it confused. They want to drive the Jews into the ocean. It's a simple mistake. You understand?
Yeah, I think there's some sus stuff going on there. I don't trust.
Yeah, I don't know them to be the sentimental type to honor him with a traditional
they just were
dropping at sea death.
Evidence. It's like Goodfellas, where they're taking the guy they shot in the club down and they're going to bury him up the state. It's getting ready to.
When it comes to Assange, Day, you said
I sleep tonight. It's just my opinion. It don't mean shit.
When you said about Assange, Day, you said, he's not appeared in the windows and whatever. I think he may have good reason to stay away from the windows of that embassy.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. People were like, no, you don't want to go towards the windows. Like, that's not a thing. But people were like, it was a big part of like, it was like proof of life or something.
I got a poke on that, Brett. What do you mean, like because you might get shot?
Yes, precisely.
Damn, Day, I don't even know. It's so deep because all of our heroes were, man, it's like Bob Marley said, how long will you kill your how long will they kill your prophets while you stand aside and look? And Redemption Song. And I see that now. It's like, man, he's getting out. So what do they got to have somebody else, a boogeyman? Is it all about a boogeyman? Have a boogeyman, centralized power around some fake entity, like with their weapon in their underpants, British, their holy weapon ready to strike.
Well, I mean, I would,
be very afraid.
Without sort of wanting to plug, the video I made, in that video I sort of said it is rather ironic that, Trump made great announcements about how he would lock Hillary Clinton up.
Yeah.
But now he's ending up going after Julian Assange, the very guy who embarrassed Hillary Clinton.
right?
Yeah, they held up.
Hillary Clinton is nowhere near a jail cell.
I think WikiLeaks did play a huge part in the outcome of the election. I think that's wrong. Like the whole point of it is I know that everyone believes there is some. I don't know if anyone remembers the old Zeitgeist movies. I think that a lot of people do have.
I wrote a paper on one. Yeah.
A lot of people do have the whole general belief that I don't like using the word Illuminati or anything like that, right? But I do definitely believe that there are powerful people behind the curtain pulling a lot of strings, basically just wanting to make sure that they and their family stay in power and stuff like that as well. So like even the CIA,
I can name them if you want. We know who they are.
Yeah.
We know who they are. I mean, David Rockefeller all but says exactly that in his biography. He literally says he's part of a conspiracy.
Yeah,
let me just get the passage. Hang on.
Yeah, get it up, Sargon, because you were mentioning this earlier. And he says, if I'm accused of this, count me right. I'm proud of it.
Given that, while Sargon looks that up, somebody just mentioned the Illuminati and Alex Jones. Have you noticed that sort of in the right light, if you see him from the right angle, Count Dankula looks just like Alex Jones.
Just I was on Alex Jones. They weren't in studio because Alex Jones. It's not a comedian like they said. No, it's actually Count Dankula. Count Dankula
is attractive.
There's Sargon now.
Right, so you can see his biography, right? David Rockefeller biography. I even know what page it's on because this is one of those things where it's like, man, I can't believe he'd say it so brazenly. So it's a paragraph called Proud Internationalist.
Oh, mercy.
A chapter called Proud Internationalist. And he's got this thing called Populist Paranoia. And it's just like 3 paragraphs, but I'll read it out and you'll be fucking gobsmacked, right? It says, for more than a century, ideological extremists at either end of the political spectrum have seized upon well-publicized incidents, such as my encounter with Castro, to attack the Rockefeller family for inordinate influence they claim we wield over American politics and economic institutions. Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and of conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and I am proud of it.
That is a classic, and the son of a look, Sargon. Do you know how many heart transplants that son of a bitch has had? He's just had his 6th one in his own operating room, his own fucking house. Sargon, how does a 106-year-old man get a heart? Because I couldn't get a heart. If I needed one tomorrow, I'd fucking die like the riffraff I am.
Exactly.
I think it's 6 of them. They clubbed man. I'm telling you, they clubbed somebody, and he's proud of that too. Man, their whole family was evil, and Illuminati or not. Call it what you want. He said part of a cabal. Wasn't that the word he used, Sargon?
Well, he literally says that he's part of an international cabal to create the New World Order, basically. I mean, he
straight up admitted it.
There is, at least, I mean, according to David Rockefeller, who claims to be part of the conspiracy. I mean, if the people who are like, no, that can't be true, know better than David Rockefeller, then do speak up and give me your evidence. But he's saying it in his fucking autobiography. What the hell do you want? What more do you want? He's literally
to take a quote from Macron. This is actually something that's unfathomable. The whole concept of a person being part of this global conspiracy and then admitting it and people not paying attention to it. It's like just ramblings of an old man.
I think it's worse than that, right? I think. The implications of it are so staggering that it's just easier to pretend you didn't hear it. I honestly think that's what it is. There was
like a form of cognitive dissonance.
Large part of it, yeah.
There's a quote.
There's been times where I've been in places, Sargon, and I've just like lit up a big fat doobie. I was in Nashville, Tennessee. Group of people just fired up a doobie. And the cops were right down the street. They even smelled, I see them looking around, but I just kept smoking like it was a cigarette. People tend to ignore what's right in front of them. It's cognitive dissonance. And then if sometimes you present something right to somebody, they just don't see it.
That's like when I think we were talking about it last night or the night before, when you present these Antifa figures with evidence against their ideology, they just cut it off. It doesn't register.
I've actually got a cousin who is in the Glasgow Antifa.
Can we get him on the
Oh,
show? Can we get an interview? That would
Fine.
be fucking incredible.
So many fun. We have so many fun conversations. Like I met up with them. I met up with them about a month ago, and we were just in town, just walking around and stuff. And I was just being a dick, and I was just going like that. Like I'll make a name up because I don't want to say his actual name, right? I'll just say David. I was walking down the street, and I was like, David, is he a Nazi? What about him? Is he a Nazi? He's got a skinhead, he must be a Nazi. And then I was pointing to like 90-year-old women going, what about her? Is she a Nazi? And everything, he's sitting there getting annoyed and stuff. And I was like, you're going to fight the big bad Nazis, David.
Oh, you're striking a nerve.
Yeah, he got quite annoyed. Like Glasgow Antifa aren't as bad as America. Like
I have
Glasgow
to admit, I like the aesthetic of the Glasgow Antifa division, like the Glasgow branch of Antifa. I just have this very idealistic image in my head.
Oh no, there was a huge thing that happened in Scotland recently. Like the Antifa in Glasgow primarily are enemies of the SDL, who are the Scottish Defence League, the spin-off of the English Defence League. And recently there was a place, I'm actually moving to this place soon, it's called Wishaw. And what happened was apparently Syrian refugees are moving in to areas in Wishaw. The SDL turned up to do a protest, right? And then what happened was on the same day, we have a thing called the Orange Walk here, which is kind of a parade of Protestants to sort of say that they're proud and Protestant and we love the Queen and stuff like that. So what happened was, yeah, exactly. So what ended up happening was all of the Scottish Antifa and obviously all the other people, anti-fascists or anybody of that kind, turned up to face off against the SDL. And then what also happened was a lot of the Catholics from the Green Brigade and stuff like that turned up to face off against the Orange Walk. So you had two opposing, one religious, one political parties meeting in the main street of Wishaw. And what happened was the police came in and said, shut the town down. They told all the stores to close for the day, lock up, go home. They sent a message out telling people not to come out of their fucking houses and stuff like that. And just
like with total martial law.
Oh, there's photos of the street the next day, and it looks like a screenshot from Fallout 4. Like, it was just
no, it sounds like an excerpt from some post-apocalyptic, like dystopian future, but it's real. It's happening right now.
Yes, it must have been like the Warriors. Like, have you seen that scene in the movie, The Warriors, where they're all gearing up on their gang colours and everything, getting ready to go meet? Like, that's exactly what it must have been like.
Gangs in New York.
You would think if something like
you put that imagery on the table, sure, that just gives it another dimension.
Yeah.
But you would think if that would happen anywhere else, or if it would be regarding a different subject, and it wouldn't involve Syrian refugees or anything like that, it would be all over the news. The idea that the police would just close down a town.
Right.
But clearly, for some reason, one sought to keep that out of the news.
Yeah, like there's been footage, and because I'm local and it's where I'm actually moving to the place in a few weeks, which is excellent. But like I've got people on Facebook who live there, and they were posting pictures and stuff like that. Some of the signs were funny. Like, see how over in America you get people like burning freedom of speech signs and stuff like that. Over here it's a bit more comical. There was one that just said, "Nazis are shite," and the guy was just like that, standing there holding the sign. So
proper wordsmith.
Yeah, so like, see when it gets to that level, like that's just funny. Like, that's funny, so I'll take that. But all it takes is just for one person from one side to throw something, and it's not okay. See how in America, like, you get both sides, you know, chasing each other and backing off, and like nobody really wants to run in. In Scotland, both sides will just fucking run right into each other, man.
But do the Scottish Antifa at least know not to throw a smoke grenade against the wind?
No, here's the thing. See, when it comes to like weapons and stuff like that in Scotland, like, holy shit, if you get caught with a knife on you, it's an automatic 6 months in prison.
Oh, I like that Antifa knife that you had.
No, it's been destroyed. I destroyed it. I don't. It's just that it wasn't even. See, even when the video went out, I was like, "Oh, the police will know that I was just doing that for the video." But then I'm like, the police also know I was making that last video just as a fucking joke.
I love that. Please don't arrest me. Please don't arrest me.
Yeah, but I haven't had a knock at the door yet. And I know that the police are actually watching me online. By the way, I actually don't know that.
That's your tax dollar. Well, tax pounds at work.
Yeah.
Popo.
Good evening, officers.
But here's the thing that was annoying about that.
Get a real job, you fucks.
when I was speaking to the police, and my Facebook's completely private, right? When I was speaking to the police, one of the officers mentioned something that I only mentioned on Facebook. Again, he even said, "Oh yeah, I seen your post about that," and then he immediately did that because he realised what he just said. And I just went, "Oh, thanks for letting me know that you're watching me." And like a fucking idiot, I said it out loud at a party. The police officer fucking did this, and he mentioned that I'm being watched. Every single drug dealer in Coatbridge stopped talking to me.
Oh, no.
I basically made it so impossible for me to
Not
buy
even
weed
for reprobate, huh?
nobody. I had to like get my friends to go to dealers to bring weed to me because no one wanted to fucking speak to me, and I was like, I just completely.
You are kind of now the ultimate crime deterrent. Wherever you go, crime stops.
Yeah, no one wants to be around me.
Like some weird hero.
I've got the whole local thing. See how Sargon was saying, like, even though Sargon's 600,000 subscribers and you say you've been recognised twice, like, I can't leave my fucking house, man. Like, everyone in Coatbridge. See, because it's like that small town, everyone. Yeah, it's just like the three greatest things that Coatbridge has ever done was the guy that wrote Kick-Ass and Wanted comes from here. A gigantic chlorine gas cloud that nearly killed everyone in the fucking town, and Nazi pub guy are the three greatest things apparently that's ever came out of Coatbridge. And stuff like that.
Wow.
Man. That's,
It's
even
like
when
the
I'm
monkey
out,
of Hartlepool. You're known for something, though. At least you're known for something.
it's like, even when I'm out like walking Buddha, whenever I take him for walks, people will drive by like Nazi saluting out their car windows and stuff like that, and I'm just like, cool.
Do they get excited to meet the dog too?
Yeah, they do. Like,
Yeah.
what do you know
Of
what it is?
course, the dog's more famous.
See, because I'm trying to sell my house, people are coming to like view the house, and I'm like showing them around, and I've got the dog there. And there was like one girl I was showing around the house, and then she went, "Are you the Nazi pug guy?" And I went, "Yeah."
That is me.
Like, buy my
That's
fucking
the Nazi
house.
pug.
I'm like fucking, but like she just left. She didn't put an offer in. So that was
It really sounds like your house has become like quite the tourist destination.
This is the thing is I don't see how like because I did it so much like with the treats, I don't even need to say anything. He just salutes, even if you're holding food. If he wants some, he salutes. So see when Sue, my girlfriend, is sitting eating her dinner, the dog just walks up and salutes at her.
Exactly. That's why I had to turn my camera off, because I'm sitting here having a little bit of late tea, and my dog's right here. And when she sees me eating, I've trained her. She just boom. And if I say the words, I don't want to say it right now. She goes so high, and she's a German dog. She's a pincher. You'll raise that paw so high, like past your ear, and it looks like a Nazi in a uniform going, doing the thing. That's funny. I'm self-sensitive because look, I know people are watching you, and I've seen your videos where you're like, I know you're watching me. I mean, I don't think you see no way. I was like, oh man, you got fucking. Is that why you tweet people your balls, because they're so big they can hardly fit on the camera?
No, that entire thing backfired. Like I like posted my Snapchat to a few people just for a joke, going like, "Oh yeah, you should totally add me on Snapchat." And then for a joke, the first thing I send them is a picture of my balls. Right? What happened is my Snapchat got leaked and get passed around everywhere, man. And I was getting like so many fucking Snapchats of people's balls and stuff like that, to the point where it's just full of balls, and I just don't even bother opening them anymore because I know what it's going to be. So it was a meme that completely backfired.
Yeah, because I don't want to compare your trolls with Sargon's trolls, but I would say per capita, you have the whole, and if you but listen, brother, the problem with not problem, but what you got going on is you willingly feed them much food, much troll food.
You are deemed as Snapchat the testicular division.
Yeah, the thing is, see the people that I've got in my Discord, like, see how how the whole Kekistan thing, they like to like raid people and stuff like that and annoy people. There was an event that ended up getting taken too far, to the point where I don't want to say this person's name, but they're in Australia, they're quite famous, and a person who's in my Discord left a comment on one of their YouTube videos, right? And it wasn't Bering. I know that sounds like it was Bering. It wasn't. It was nobody connected to any of the communities. It was like a chef type person, right? And a person for the
that
Discord.
poll are going to narrow that down now, right?
They probably will.
They're
Well, no,
going
it's
to
because-
chef in Australia. Boom.
No, the problem is as well, the chef ended up going on TV to talk about the trolling they got online just because they insulted this one person from a Discord. I joined in thinking it was going to be quite funny, right? We were just posting YouTube comments and just like having a laugh, right? Just harmless trolling, harmless fun. What ended up happening is like a few other people managed to like totally dox her and her family and stuff like that, and just it ended up pure. The train, there was no brakes on that train anymore, and I just kind of had to. I'm taking nothing to fucking do with this, right? But she was writing about it on her blog, and feminists in Australia were getting fucking furious and stuff like that. And then she ended up going on TV and she started crying, and I went, "Oh no, shit," like that, like, because I was like, "Yeah, guys, it'll be fun," and then it just immediately became not fun. And I was like, everyone, please stop. You're going to get me into trouble. But then people started commenting on all our videos saying, subscribe to Count Dankula.
No.
And everything as if to fucking say it was me. So that's why the only people that I have around me are the ones that want me in fucking jail. So,
man, that's that.
can't
But I'll
put
tell you
it
one
wrong.
thing. You were kind of holding my hand through Discord, but we did say I heard Kekistan 3 times, so I got to ask the question, Sargon. I do recall somewhere in the fog of my marijuana and alcohol laced memory that I saw a certain document that looked like it had your name on it from the Census Bureau. Was that a real document?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I wondered because
the British
with all
census
the
isn't until 2020, so
Okay,
I
I
can't,
check that
I can't
out.
do anything about it
It-
until then. But I certainly will.
It would predate the whole Kekistan thing.
And then the way I saw it was with all the political correct stuff going on there, I didn't even check out the date because I thought, oh my goodness, they just let him do that because they don't want to take away what he's identifying as.
I think that's the entire point of Kekistan. It's just a sort of a tongue-in-cheek poking fun at the whole identity politics side of everything. Like I can state that I personally am whatever the fuck I like, and if you say otherwise, well, you're a fucking Nazi.
I'm part of the clergy, man. I conduct the Church of Keck 3 days a week, man. Usually 3 hours.
I pray every day.
The
You know, if
But
you're going to
like,
turn this
it's-
into you can choose whatever the fuck you like, then
But is
be an ethnic shit person.
Kek, is that a religion, or is it a is it
not
an
a
ethnicity?
It's a perfect simulation of a religion. They've
Yeah, but
emulated
what's
religion
the other
perfectly.
option outside of religion? Is it a religion or what?
I always would, or is it an ethnicity? Because I would always have assumed that
It's
the
like
religion of
Judaism in my mind,
Kekistan would be Jedi.
It's like Judaism in that way, in my mind. You could be both. You could either be ethnic or religio Kekistanian. So I myself am both.
I would say because it goes back to the previous census where thousands of people announced themselves as Jedi in their religion.
Yeah.
It's the same
I
concept.
think you could certainly be an adherent of the
Oh
Church.
my
of
God, I'm
Keck,
totally
but,
doing that.
Kekistan
Oh yeah,
is
because
certainly
people
ethnic.
like Sargon, this is going to go down in history. You know, like 300 years from now, I guarantee you, somebody's going to be digging in the archives of the internet.
Of the
They're going to be
internet.
like, "This guy Sargon of Akkad rose from the dead in 20."
Nobody's
He's
going
fucking
to
leading this
that.
revolution of Keck. We must praise Keck.
I'm
With
still-
this
I'm
plague
still
of
an
frogs.
actually.
That would
There
be
was,
the
there
most
was
epic
a bunch of memes that get made about me saying that I was going to be the first, because I'm going to court in a few weeks, that I was going to be the what the fuck. Jesus, no, but I was going to be the first martyr.
Yeah.
Okay.
God Dankula is going to be the martyr figure.
Yeah, the
So-
first martyr.
He's gonna be
Everything
the
is
Thank you.
already in place.
That's commitment, sweetie. That's commitment. I love you for that one. You see that, Sargon? He's got
That
That
was
was
awesome.
funny.
I was just wondering
I
how
couldn't
late
hear
it
anything
was.
because I didn't have my thing.
I was just wondering how late it was and whether I was already hallucinating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I should probably.
I'm
I should
forever,
probably-
but,
Licked a toad.
like I said, you Brits, when you're ready to go, just let me know because I would like to do a little last shout out.
It's half past, nearly
Yeah,
half
yeah,
full,
I'm
so
gonna-
I need to head off to.
Oh man, that's wonderful. Thank God, because I was going to hang in here to the bitter end. My wife, she kissed me goodnight about 30 minutes ago. Was like, "You're gonna be up all night again with these maniacs, huh?" Yeah, big job because fucking Sargon's on your stream now, huh? Don't you? You're gonna be up till fucking 5 o'clock in the morning, right? You're gonna be tired. You got to do the breaking of the field tomorrow. You know, in the field and so here. No, she's a good woman. But she is like my conscience. Her and the British are Jiminy Cricket, and like I don't even have a bad angel. I've got my wife and the Brit, and they're like constantly like, do the right thing. You'll like it. You'll appreciate it in the morning.
Whenever
Anyway,
I'm streaming,
that was my plug, I guess. I really appreciate y'all coming by. So say your last words, man, and I'll be quiet. And when you're gone, I'll do a wrap up so I won't feel embarrassed by kissing your butt so roughly.
Oh, nothing. Nothing particular to say. Just thanks for having me on, man. It's been nice. Thanks for the invite. It's been nice chatting.
Man, that's awesome. Sargon, would you do me a big favor? Would you say something at least close to these words? It's been a pleasure to be on the Ogre's live stream.
No.
Y'all know me. I am going to cut that out. That's even better. No, boom. I've already got
And he's gone. He's gone.
Oh yeah, no, that was.
I fucking love that man.
Oh, brilliant!
Hey, you gotta give it to. I gotta look now. We gotta, man. He streamed now 6.
Oh, man.
that was awesome.
5 hours and 18 minutes, and in my head, I thought if we have Sargon on for 2 hours, I'd be happy. And I thought if Dankula even showed up, like, and said, "Hey, here's my nuts," and left, I'd be happy. But that was just a godsend right there. It was wonderful.
No, that's cool, man. I was trying to. The reason I was like sort of half playing games, but I'm also half talking to someone of note that I'm trying to set up a live stream with, which I think will be pretty interesting. I don't know if you Bearings found him, and he is. I know he's a wee bit of a thorn in Sargon's side. Have you guys heard of the Bronx blogger?
Oh yeah.
No.
I might be doing a stream with him.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, that'll be fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And I followed him long. I found him through someone else just about maybe 3 months ago, if that.
Yeah, I just heard about him through the Bearing talking about him.
Yeah, I think that's where I hooked it up. However long.
He's an interesting fellow. He feels that free speech should be banned, and that it's he is one of the people where it's like everyone's a Nazi and stuff like that. I just think it's going to be. Well, his ideals come very close. If I'm being honest,
in his own judgment, given that pretty much everybody is a Nazi, is he one of these people who is full of sin but fighting it in his own mind?
Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so. It's basically, I think it's mostly, you see how Sargon actually mentioned this in one of his videos, well, it's like everyone that's on the left right now is just LARPing. It just kind of feels cool playing the revolutionary type of thing. Like there's people that have even started calling themselves the Resistance.
Yep.
And stuff like that. Like the Resistance thing, it's like would these walk past each other and hand each other like cryptic notes and go, meet me down the docks at midnight. Like fucking bullshit like that, man. Like that's what it gets to the point of. Like, and a part of me understands it. Because like back in the day I was just like them, absolutely rampaging left-winger and stuff like that, except when I was younger we actually fought with actual Nazis, not people with Trump hats and people that are just on the right. We used to fight people that actually had swastika tattoos on their chests and stuff like that as well, like actual Nazis. But like he seems to like the point of, see how everyone just uses Nazi to dehumanize someone. Like, see how when you see someone getting beaten up or getting their talk shut down, you would usually feel bad for them. But as soon as that person's being branded a Nazi, even if they're not, everyone just stops feeling bad. Oh, you can do whatever you want to that person. It's basically, if you brand someone a Nazi, it kind of gives you the green light to do and act however the fuck you want to that person. And it doesn't matter because they're a Nazi. They're not really human, even though dehumanization was a massive part of Nazi ideology itself. Right? So, and it's just, he believes in that part. Nazis aren't really people, or the people he's deemed Nazis, and we can beat them up and shut them down. Even when I made a whole joke saying I got a job at the Scottish Sun, that's not true. They were a paper that totally smeared me, and I was just trying to troll them by saying I got a job there. But he actually started tweeting at his own followers saying that they should all try to get me fired from an imaginary job that I just made up.
Well, let's remember when we think it's okay to be mean to all Nazis, Dank. We got, Erwin Rommel, who was a Nazi, I believe. Did he ever? I'm not even sure he was a Nazi. I know he's in the Weimar.
He didn't approve of a lot that Hitler done.
In fact, I
think the actual Wehrmacht of Germany and the Nazis were two very separate things.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
high-ranking army officers did not really approve at all of the Nazis.
Did he have SS stripes, Brett, or was he in any way? Because I'm not even sure now.
Wehrmacht. He was not SS. He was.
And I would say this, even no matter what, there are. I mean, this is hard for me to say. There's good everybody without going into the class, because I don't want anybody to cut it up and hear me say there's good X, Y, and Z. Because I would say, you know, the Anti-Defamation League sucks. And so does a lot of other things. We talked about that on here. But to say that all Nazis are bad, and I know you don't approve of them, regardless of what gags you played, man, come on. There's got to be one or two. You mean in all of them, there's not one or two good ones. You got to be shitting me. I'm sure there was legions of good ones, but the ones at the top, you know, it could be said for any government.
But that's even with the actual country itself as well. Like, a lot of German people got arrested for harbouring Jews. They were hiding them in their house. They were hiding them under their floorboards. They were helping them sneak out of Germany and stuff like that. And swaves of them get arrested.
You know who was one of the most well-known guys who actually happened to turn out to be someone who was hiding Jews?
Schindler?
Max Schmeling. You know, the big boxer who fought Joe Louis?
Really?
Yeah, Max Schmeling, the heavyweight. You know, he became world champion, and then Hitler made a big song and dance about, you know, his being the example of being the Aryan race and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there was a rematch. Then there was a fight in New York, and Joe Louis kind of defeated him again. But these guys were sort of two really big opponents of each other. But what was never really pointed out was that, of course, Schmeling wasn't really a Nazi. Hitler may have used him for propaganda purposes, but Schmeling wasn't at all comfortable with it. And when the Kristallnacht happened, you know, where God only knows how many Jewish shops were attacked and whatever, he had Jews in his flat and was hiding them. And that's why when, at the end of the war, when the Americans came in and were looking for, you know, some decent Germans with whom they could actually do business, Max Schmeling was kind of, they kind of realized that he was actually one of the good guys. So he was actually the guy who got the Coca-Cola contract in Germany. So he became a very wealthy man. Whereas, of course, Joe Louis, as is so often the case, he was the professional boxer who was milked for all he was worth by the management and whatever, and ended up completely broke. Who paid for Joe Louis's funeral?
Oh man, and Joe Louis ended up he ended up in a casino in Vegas, man. They really hurt Louis, man.
You know, Max Schmeling was the guy who actually paid for his funeral.
Who did it?
Max Schmeling.
Yeah, I thought
German, his famous German opponent.
Oh, I know. And you were actually the one that turned me on to what you were saying earlier about him hiding Jews out. I didn't know that about Schmeling, but I followed. I'm a real, you know, I'm into pugilism and boxing. I know you got a busy life, but in my life, believe it or not, I'm a simple guy. But even a simple guy, because I got a theory. Doesn't matter if you're literally a bum on the street in a cardboard box, or if you're Bill Gates. Whatever your personal problems are, they're your personal problems. They ain't no worse or better than anybody else's. And if you think different, it's because you haven't been anybody else. And knowing what you're going through right now, I know it's traumatizing for you. So the bright side for me is that how you've handled this. When I get up in the morning, I'm getting old, Dank. When I get up in the morning, it's like, I don't feel like doing shit. I've got meat soaking right now to make my jerk Jew meat and smoked meat. And I got my chicken. And I don't, sometimes, not every day, but at least once a week, I think about what you're going through, brother. And if I didn't just gild the lily like hell on that, and it gives me a little extra something to know there's a dude sitting somewhere utterly innocent of anything that I know. I'm sure you're not innocent. No one's innocent, but it's there for sure. And it just helps me to buck up and do my little bullshit, because everybody's problems are relative, but yours to me seem big, and you're handling it with a tremendous amount of dignity.
I'm just trying to sort of turn it over to a positive. Like, the reason I don't know if you've went back to my first ever like YouTube video. My first ever YouTube video was a video called cunt.avi, and it was It was just me zooming in on Buddha's face, calling him a cunt. That was what the channel was supposed to be, just absolute shit posts. And I made this complete shit post and it blew up. So I kind of just decided, you know what, I don't really have a job right now, so I'm just going to focus on YouTube. And then I just did it, and I actually really enjoy doing it. It's mostly just offending people. I don't know why, I just get a kick out of knowing that I've annoyed someone. But it's just, I just decided to do it, and it was just, see, because it was like all I had for like a year. I couldn't get jobs, I couldn't do anything and stuff like that. I couldn't even go outside where like people, oh, you're the Nazi pub guy and all this kind of stuff. But like, I just sort of like moved into it, and it's just sort of like what's got me through. See, like going on videos and reading all the nice comments, and even all like the mean ones, but the mean ones are always said like as a joke and everything. Like, if someone makes a really good offensive meme of me, I'll retweet it because I think that stuff's hilarious. But like, now that I've got this job, and we've also got, like, we moved into a new house as well, where we're hoping to get in soon, so it doesn't sound like I'm recording from inside Notre Dame Cathedral. But that, I hate this fucking echo. Right, but like, see, because I've now got that and I'm actually now getting somewhere, I feel like, cool, this entire area of my life is sorted. It's just this fucking stupid bullshit that I have to fucking deal with now. That's what's annoying me, because I'm looking at the whole thing going, I shouldn't even fucking be here. I shouldn't be dealing with this fucking shit. This is nonsense. When I get sent into prison and I told all the other prisoners what I was in for, they laughed at me and stuff like that. And
like, even if you don't go to jail at this point, you shouldn't even be going through all the stress of a trial and dealing with all the stuff. That's, even if you don't go to jail, there's still been damage done.
Oh, I can hear it right now. We dog salute, mates. I robbed 2 old ladies and took, you know, I can't do the accent, but I can just see it like in a Glaswegian jail cell somewhere all dank, and they give you bread and porridge once a week. They're like, what are you in here for, mate? And you're like, I'm a weed dog, and I made a, you know, they're like, oh yeah, I raped 5 old ladies and murdered their husbands. Wow. Anyway, there's real crime in the world. I mean, you wouldn't know it by your case, but there's definitely real crime out there.
Mm. Yeah, man, I think I'm gonna opt out. It was awesome, fucking 6-hour stream.
Yeah, thank you, because I'm doing this thing, but I'm trying to outlast the Brits. But I have a feeling that right now, what it is the Britisher. He's just hanging out for dear life, and he's like, in his mind, he's like, the ogre's not going to outdo me.
Yeah, it's almost 6 a.m. here.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm probably going to bounce as well. I'm very tired.
Yeah, I think I'll also call it a day. I think the Brits are retiring now.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, you guys. This has been awesome. Thanks, Dank, for coming on.
Yeah, this has been fun.
I might try to talk Dan to go into hers for a little 15 minutes after, so I can relinquish the gates, and maybe she would get some people to go check out her channel, or even Amanda, anybody that wants to. I don't care.
Oh no, I can't like start a stream.
I'm kind of tired.
I've been sitting here getting a little drunk listening.
I think after about 6 hours or so, everyone is getting tired.
Yeah.
I'll spread the love around any way I can. I'm out. Thanks a lot, bro.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, people. See you about.
Bye, guys.
See you later, man.
Bye.
God save you.
Cheers.